ourselves?
The trail is about to start.
Okay. We are live. Please mute mics.
Welcome to the Martin Segal
Theater Center here at
the Graduate Center.
And to Prelude 21, Start Making Sense. It is our annual theater and performance festival celebrating the work of New York theater artists and ensembles. And it's hard enough in normal times to create work for the stage and for spaces inside and outside, but in the time of Corona, we all are faced with exceptional challenges. And we are here to celebrate again the extraordinary achievements that come out of the New York theater community. It is time, I think, and we feel, to start making sense, to ask questions. Why are we making theater? But also, how are we producing it? And for whom? And this is a great investigation again into the mechanics of making art in New York City. And we also invited theater ensembles from around the US, from Detroit and Cincinnati, St. Louis and Philadelphia, New Orleans, to join us. And this will be an extraordinary look into what is on the minds of artists right now. We also have many panel discussions. We have an award which we're giving out to honor outstanding members of the New York theater community. So I would like to all of you to join in and get an insight of what is happening. Welcome, everybody, here to Segal Talk, and welcome to the very, very, very beginning of Prelude. I'm terribly nervous. It's a big deal for us that we were able to get it done. Many thanks to Andy and Tanvi. Without them, really, we wouldn't have been possible to do it, but also our 13 curators and all the artists that participated. My name is Frank Henschko at the Segal Theater Center. So we're here in Midtown Manhattan, and we are starting today with the Segal Talk, where we will do so every day in the week, to bring artists and curators together so we get a better feeling of who they are, why they do the work, and to really listen to them. We would at this moment also like to acknowledge the Lenape people upon whose land we are gathered today, even in the airwaves, and we pay respect to the Lenape people and ancestors past, present, and future. So welcome, everybody. How are you guys?
Fantastic. Happy Monday, everyone.
Well, here we go. It's the very beginning. Maybe I'll just go clockwise. You say a very short sentence, a little bit of who you are. David.
Sure. I'm David Bruin. I'm one of the curators of Prelude this year. I kicked off this chain a little bit, and I selected Daisy to work with as an artist. And I just want to say a quick shout out to Nile Harris, who's one of the other curators in this chain. I just think Nile is one of the most interesting artists working today. Prelude alum, and it's just awesome to connect with everyone here. So
thank you. Yeah, Niall couldn't do it. Malcolm.
Yeah.
About you, what you do.
Huh?
As a curator, who you are and what you do.
Oh, cool. I was a part of the chain because of Nile Harris also. He picked me as a curator, and I picked Arien as an artist.
Fantastic. And Daisy.
Hi, everyone. I really like this room. By the way, I'm happy to see you all, happy to be here. I'm Daisy Press. I am a musician based here in New York City. I perform experimental music here and in Europe, and also perform a lot of the music of Hildegard of Bingen on several platforms in the world and in the ether. So more on that later. Happy to see you all.
Fantastic. Thank you. Arian.
Hi, everyone. My name is Arian Wilkerson. I am the artistic director and founder of Tamal Astro, which is a performance art and installation company. We make experimental, radical, punk, sexy, queer, hybrid, weed loving, like fucking fantasizational work And I'm super excited to be an artist and curator. It's my first prelude ever, and I curated the lovely and incomparable, even if I'm saying that wrong, they're amazing, Damani Pompey.
Fantastic. And Damani.
Hey y'all, my name is Damani. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm an interdisciplinary artist, movement foundation, movement focus, movement as survival, and also creating like really visually aesthetic and important work for self and for others. And that's just where I'm at right now. So.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. And maybe say also a little bit about you. Maybe you start off, and after your introduction, tell a little bit about your work, why you chose this, and why you think it's important. We, of course, feel that, but also to hear from you a little bit about your work.
Oh, I didn't know I was going to start off, but my name is Ang, and I'm a dancer. Just do a lot of things, but I always think of them as dance. Yeah, I don't know what I'm making really. For this thing, now reach out to me, and we just talk a bunch of times, and I got inspired, and I was like, let's go to Statue of Liberty, and that's what we went, and we just bowed to her for hours on end, and there's some people there filming it, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I have no idea what I'm doing these days. I'm glad I did something.
How are they feeling in this time? How is it? How does it feel in this moment to create work?
It feels difficult for sure. I think the pandemic's also catching up on me. I've been sick this past few months. Yeah, so that's why my room is pretty messy, as you can see. 18 months later, of course, the body has to react. At least my body is reacting. I don't know about everybody, but and then New York City has been pretty fast this past few months too, which I don't know. It just feels altogether very difficult, even though I'm supposedly making. But I don't know. I feel like I've been on pause, but just pumping some things out for the world at the same time. Yeah.
Thank you. Daisy, tell us a little bit about you. How are you doing, and a bit about the Hildegard von Bingen, which we of course know in Germany, and but she's not so well known in Brooklyn.
Exactly. I just want to comment on what Anne just shared about. It's so important to be honest about the twists and turns and the ups and downs of this time, and how it just is hard. How it's just hard, and then there's a new level of hard that happens, and another level of hard that happens, and so I think it's just so good to hear that I'm not the only person who's been going through that. It's not just me. So thank you. Anyway, yeah. So Hildi, as I call her, she's my buddy, Hildegard von Bingen. I'll just to tell you all, she was an amazing polymath who lived 800 years ago, and she was a composer, and she was in charge of a huge convent, and she had these visions, and she did these paintings, and she wrote an opera. And what else did she do? Oh, she was an herbalist, and she grew things in her garden, possibly weed. Somebody said maybe she was growing a little weed in her garden. We don't know. There could be an opera about that, I think. But so she came into my life in 2015. I'd already been an experimental singer here and in Europe, and I just came to a place where I really wanted to sing music that felt good to my body. I was like, you know what, this is going to be about pleasure. From now on, I really want to connect to the body, and her music came into my life. And then I started singing her music in unlikely places, like House of Yes in Brooklyn, and like in nightlife, in settings that maybe, not so sacred, maybe more towards the profane, but the sacred really seemed to work there. There was a musical that we made at House of Yes about the drug ketamine and all of its uses and dangers and fascinations in the world. And I would come in and sing a Hildegard chant to like bring everybody out of the K-hole, so to speak, that was created with the theater presentation. So so discovering the power of this music in places that like not up at the cloisters, although I wouldn't, you know, I of course would sing up at the cloisters, but it was like not at the cloisters. So I got to sing a lot of Hildi at Burning Man a couple years ago. I have had the honor of singing Hildegard at the bedside of people who are very ill. And and so during the pandemic, I was like, okay, what do I have to give? Okay, I have music to give. I can bring people into the experience of singing. So I started offering Hildegard sessions 3 times a week on Zoom, totally free for an entire year. And that became something known as voice cult, where Hildegard's not necessarily the main deity. One's own voice is the main deity, but bringing people through these chants in a digestible way, and getting people to sing this music, even if they had no musical experience. Like, okay, yeah, we're going to learn this Latin. We're going to sing through these chants over and over and over and over. So it's Voice Cult is still online. It's been an honor to connect with so many people in different ways with Hildi's music. And I was just in Italy and I got to sing Hildi in a monastery. That's a more kind of normal way to sing her music. So that was a beautiful trip.
Fantastic.
And
yeah. Thank you. Really, that is quite something, though. Instead of reopening the musical that you had written 5 years ago, you created something very special in that time of Corona that had also something to do with it and created. Malcolm, tell us a bit about you as artist and curator at Prelude. You might be off on your sound.
Is that good? Hey.
Hi there.
Where do I start? Yeah, I guess, yeah, I'm an artist and I make my own work. But like, I feel like the pandemic has opened up this space of like, yeah, you can show up in the comfort of your own home. But also I remember during like the beginning of the pandemic of being like in this flight mode, and I guess like you putting that energy into other things, like I guess like making clothes and yeah, just other practices that was kind of like sustaining me. So I guess I'm thinking of yeah, I guess like if the pandemic didn't happen, I wouldn't arrive to those practices and things. So I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, I guess I curated Arien because I guess like how he uses like queerness, especially like Black queerness, and I hope I'm not like assuming, but I think of like queerness as a place of like possibility and how it like pushes against this normative. So like the collages of just queerness and Black queerness and reclaiming space. I guess when I think of Black queerness also, I think of all of the ancestors we lost to like HIV and AIDS, and like a longing for like a mentor. And I kind of see like Arian's work in this dimension of like an archive that can be like passed on to like a future Black, queer, young. Yeah, it's like, I guess there's so many levels. It's like always like pushing the envelope and pushing for something more, as opposed to yeah, just settling in like a comfortable place. So I'm gonna say that's why I curated Arien. And yeah, I think he's also like amazing. They is also amazing and beautiful, and I'm glad that they curated Damani, and yeah, An's here is amazing. Yeah. Let's hear people.
Good. Arian, you want to they want to.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna like put it all out there. So like Malcolm, Damani, and I have known each other since we were like 15, you know. So we were like 15, like, you know, so we've like, you know, and we met at this really problematic summer camp. And like, and so like it was just like what it was. It was just like a really just like problematic place, but we met, you know, and the people that we all met too, we still love to like to this day, you know, like 2008, 2009 is a particular time, right? Because Instagram and Facebook didn't have as much political power as it did back then, now that it does now, which is fine. But we were actually, Black queers, a part of the internet era from the early 2000s to now. If you look about how 2008, that's not even 10 years into the world of the internet, with Google starting around 2002. You know what I mean? So like, if we're looking at the internet from like a mass standpoint, we're like truly like internet children of the corn. You know what I mean? And so yeah. I had a big respect for Malcolm, and I had a big respect for Damani, because at both spectrums there's super beautiful technique that comes from Damani, and then really experimental, defined, clean, like airy, beautiful shit from Malcolm. You know what I mean? And then Damani comes and then hits harder with just like eleganza and like things that are just really elegant. I just can't describe Damani's work without saying that it's like viscerally elegant, and that's something that is hard to do as an artist and as a Black queer artist. And for Malcolm to be viscerally here with you, to sort of take you into the afterlife or to take you into life, is like the things that I was really interested in, and why I felt like we sort of are rooted in each other's life. It's funny because my video has an age restriction, because a lot of my work is very out there, and I do use my body as a subject. I am HIV positive, so I just always looked at myself as a part of an archive. Like, now I'm a number, a part of a system with millions of people who have died from AIDS and HIV, and I'm a part of that archive. So let me just start adding to the archive. It was just very it was very simple too. It was just like, let me just keep adding to, who are Black young artists at the age of 30 who have HIV and still suck dick and still feel proud enough to put their ass in a thong on and and to parade, and so yeah, I think my work is interesting because I always battled with the line of technique versus postmodernism. You know what I mean? Just to keep it real, like just the idea of like form versus the ability to maintain form. You know what I mean? So like, it's all those things that are wrapped up in one. And a lot of my work also influences sculpture. And throughout COVID, it was different for me because I was in Philadelphia. I fell in love with this guy. We were protesting, we were looting, robbing grocery stores, all like the whole 9 yards. You know what I mean? Like throwing shit at City Hall, throwing shit at police. The film that I made was called The Cis Uprising, that was funded by University of Pennsylvania, and it was about queer and intergenerational legacies of fight, and just looking at it from that perspective. It is still online. Unfortunately, fortunately, me and that man broke up. So it's always living. It's all tea, all shade, always, So yeah, that's passive. I'm passing. I'm talking too much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thank you, David. Maybe we come to you after this. Damani, maybe you can react.
I feel really safe here, and I'm so appreciative and honored to like share my work. I mean, I made this thing, like I kind of killed two birds with one stone. Like I've been putting off this project for some time because I was just like unsure about it, and I was like, no, actually, I'm just gonna go in and do it. And I have the vision, I have some resources, and I'm just gonna do it. And I'm very happy with how it came out. And I'm very proud of myself. And this is the first time I can like say that out loud. And this has been just like a really rough time for me, and I'm coming out of it. And I'm just like so thankful that people still will continue to see me for me. I quit my job that I've been working at for 8 years, who I've grown through with, and now I've outgrown, and it's all love, but like to just keep moving forward for the greater good, and also understanding that like us sitting here is like still such a privilege, and like being responsible about that in the art we make, you know, like, and like how we connect with everybody we encounter, you know, just to like be good to people. Like it like costs $0.99. No, I mean, oh, sorry, $0 completely. Be good to other people, you know. And if the conversation gets thick or weird, like, let's take it there. Let's make art about it, you know. But don't run away from it. And like, and also like, if you're not prepared for it, that it's not no one's issue but yours. Like, and that's it, you know. So yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm happy to meet y'all all digitally, and I'm in a very vulnerable space right now. But I feel more empowered than I ever have in my life, and more supported and more loved. And it's very, very clear the pandemic has like really gifted us what we need versus what we want. And that is so important. And that's what I'll say about that. Movement is important. Be careful how you move. People are looking at you, you know? That's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Damani. David, you've been a Prelude curator. I think the last time you also did it in person live at the Graduate Center at CUNY, and where we could people bring in. Still, it's close to the outside public. We couldn't do it. We did it again the second year. Last year also you curated it. Well, how do you see? How do you feel? Tell us about your choice, but also a bit, where do you see the theater performance at the moment?
Well, first, it's just really great to share space with everybody. And I feel like I'm a little bit interrupting the flow here, but I'll say a little bit to tie it back into what people are saying. I mean, the live in-person experience is awesome. I mean, it's great to be there in the room. And I'm really, you know, I hope all of us meet someday, but even then it's great to connect with everyone in a certain kind of way. I guess I have two things that people have talked about. I mean, on the one hand, Malcolm invoked this idea of a tradition, and I'm really invested in that. I mean, during the pandemic, I finished my dissertation partially because I lost all my other jobs, and so I needed to like get this professional credential. And I think a lot about the history of Black art in the United States, and Amiri Baraka and Adrian Kennedy are incredibly important figures. And I really see, you know,
that's my birthday twin. Sorry.
What'd you say?
That's my birthday twin. We have the same birthday.
Really?
Me and Amiri Baraka.
And I mean, I feel like I'm still catching up, you know, to where he's been. And you know, Fred Moten has been a huge help in that regard, not personally, just through the writing and stuff like that. So I'm really interested in these traditions. I'm really interested in how that tradition continues. You know, when I was in graduate school as an MFA student, the story of the avant-garde was very European and very white, and you just cannot think about the avant-garde worldwide without Blackness. I mean, the avant-garde for me really begins with the spirituals that the enslaved Black people in the United States began. I mean, it was a creation that broke down the barrier between artist and audience. It was a response to the most horrific labor conditions you can possibly imagine. It was a mixture of high and low. I mean, that is it. That is I feel like everything I do is a derivative of that thing that they created. And the other thing that really interests me about that, and so for me, that's more important than Wagner, more important than the Symbolist. I mean, now we're getting into all kinds of academic stuff, but seeing that story and that sweep is just absolutely critically important to me. And it tracks all the way to the present and into the future, where people like the artists gathered here are moving it far afield of where I can see. But the other thing I'd say on that note is, you know, I'm interested in practices that are not just about an autonomous work of art, that are about using the work as a way to heal or share, as opposed to extract and collect value. You know, I mean, and so Hildegard von Bingen is that for me, and this tradition that Baraka emanates from and returns to, and Adrian Kennedy and Reza Abdo and you know, Marlon Riggs. I mean, if we're going in other directions, and Trajal Harrell and et cetera, et cetera. So I've been really excited because I feel like in the last 2 years, I've seen more and more work that's not content to just be a work of art, and people who are more and more committed to not just being an artist. And whether in fact it is okay, so I'll say something just really basic, really quick. Is whatever. I mean, right now I work in the nonprofit industrial complex, right? That's how I make a living, because I have to make the living. I think most people do, some people don't. Good for them. But like, you know, and in that job, I'm doing a little bit of reform every day just to keep the thing from fucking falling apart, right? I'm trying to pay people fairly, and I'm doing an okay job, and but ultimately, there's a horizon in which we need to make an exodus from this thing. We got to get out of the nonprofit industrial complex, and so how to work at that intersection of reform and exodus and the practice of abolition. I mean, that is keeping me up at night, and it should. Mm-hmm. But in any case, that's what I'm thinking and feeling. I hope I didn't steal too much of the really great energy in the room.
No, I think, Prelude is at least a forum. We try to really listen to new ideas, and hopefully also it's a little platform. We put you up very at the beginning, but anything you want to add or say to it?
Oh, I've said too much. I'm just grateful that what.
No, on, not David.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking to me. Sorry, I'll mute.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm just absorbing. But I guess this time has really made me question the United States, why I'm here, why I went to this place in the first place. I grew up in Vietnam for like 17 years, and I left home, and I don't know, thinking about war stuff and how it still percolates in my life. Yeah, the pandemic does allow that to happen for me, and I don't want to extract it yet. I don't want to exploit that work for art yet. So it's just trying to keep them separate for now. Sorry, I'm going all over the place.
No, that's good. And you said your body was really, in a way, as a dancer or movement, if your body was profoundly affected by.
Yes. I don't know. I have thyroid issues. My mom also has thyroid issues. So there's been like that sort of maternal connection that I, return to through many ways. It's like my body is forced to return to it. So.
I have a question for An, because I love you, and I just want to ask you the question that you asked someone that I feel like will always resonate with me. Do you believe that that abstraction belongs to white people? And as a person who lives in a canonization of like shit like Kung Fu Kenny and Nicki Minaj, Chung Lee, and Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what do you think about like Asianness and Blackness as a marriage of abstraction?
That's a heavy question. I don't know. I mean, definitely, I don't think abstraction belongs to white people, but I think they invent a certain kind of abstraction and then monopolize on it for sure. That sort of neutrality, pureness, formalism, and I feel like war is a pretty abstract thing, don't you think? Like trauma, things that you inherit. I think I make abstract work, and I look up to. Although, I'm definitely in the canon of that white abstraction, so I don't know, can't divorce from that per se.
No, but I guess I'm trying to. I guess I'm trying to I'm trying to squeeze out what do you think about that in the relationships of Asian and Blackness?
Yes.
I mean, I've dated I was in love with a Cambodian person, and we would talk about that all the time, because I would always feel like, why am I not seen? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why am I not seen? But also our cultures have been, complexly intertwined since the 70s, since fucking blaxploitation films, since that mixture of since that mixture of what sort of that canon that unfortunately Kung Fu films did, to then how that reached over to shit like Jet Li and Aaliyah, to how that
I remember studying with oh my god, his last name is Bennett, but he was like one of the founders of the House of Ninja. So he was like friend with Willie Ninja, and he was talking about how Willie Ninja just watched a lot of Kung Fu movies and created these vocabularies that are abstracted from this like white exotic gaze into Asianness. And he created something out of it. And I hope, Chun Li could do that. I hope I hope things. I believe in getting things wrong. I don't believe in getting culture right. I don't believe in authenticity. Although white people get it too wrong, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I
mean,
think they're
because it's so
getting
visceral too.
yeah, and it's like very exploitative, and it's very like the getting wrong comes also with like exploitation, comes with primitivity, like all those things. Like they think of you as inferior. I think I'm dealing with that inferiority very viscerally these days. Whereas I feel like in those exchange between Asianness and Blackness, there's something. Of course, the power is not flat, but I think there's more capaciousness and generosity.
Yeah.
And you can get things wrong. I don't know. I think that's what you.
A question to you all. I mean, I heard it was about healing. David talked about a kind of a change that we'll have to catch up to things that already happen. I think you all said the personal, the private space, and the common space. Do you all feel that this is a time? Is that a time of change at the moment? Do you feel your work you're showing is there something different?
I do, and I don't. Like what I wanted to say to Anne, the last thing was I filmed my piece inside of the Asian Arts Initiative here in Philadelphia. It's a building that's owned by Anne Ishii. If you ever come to Philly, I will introduce you to her. She's dope as fuck, and she runs the Asian Arts Initiative in Philly, and it's like a mini black box and a beautiful gallery, and they do stuff for the community, and it's right like in like Chinatown, but like a little bit out of it so that you can just sort of be in that world. And she's dope, and she's really like thinking, like we just always have these conversations about Asianness and Blackness. You know, she's from LA originally, so that, you know, is a different, like that's always a different thing. But yeah, and to just answer it, yeah, like yes and no. Like I think because, you know, like because like the universe is so fucked up and vast, I don't know. I don't know if like change is like happening, because for me financially I need to fucking feel it. Like I need like reparations. I need fucking more fucking money. Like I just need some money. You know what I mean? I'm like, like I guess the only way I'm gonna ever feel it is when I can take my mama and my papa somewhere and fucking put them up and like let them feel like they can fucking die gracefully. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like those are the things that to me really compact change. Right now it's still the fight. You know, it was just a fucking brutal ass battle, you know? And I don't think it's over yet per se. I don't think the change will happen until we start actually really seeing that financially, institutionally, like until it's really in our pockets and it's in our houses and we're all wearing gold, you know? Like, you know what I mean? So it's more like that for me.
Yes. Yeah. What do you all think? I mean, you just jump in.
Well, I'm gonna piggyback off of that because, growing up was really rough for me. Understanding identity, like as a first generation American person, and being labeled African American and Black, and it was just new to me. And also like the sensation of it all. I really truly had to like learn who I was. I think I just discovered who I truly am like 2 years like ago, or like right this second. Like it's just, it's so important, like, you know. And then going to institutions to study dance and not really be told how to survive with it, but like giving you all this old information that like really doesn't pertain to me. Having a professor literally say out his mouth, like, oh, I can tell by your feet that you had slaves for ancestors, and that didn't flinch. Like,
really?
Institution that I'm paying for, like just like things like that. And then really wanted to get out and really wanted to share myself and share all my emotions, when in fact, like nobody cares about me. Like at the end of the day, and like I don't have ownership of my own temple as a mover. And so like the pandemic just really helped me realize that there's more, you know, there's always more work to be done, but like specifically how stale everything is. Like nothing is based off innovation, and innovation is kind of like harvested and saved for certain spaces that aren't Black. You know what I mean? And that if one thing I can do to heal myself and heal people that look like me, and to give back to people who will resonate with my work, without fear, like is to create and the power of creation, you know, and there's like all the balance that brings in your everyday. Like if you're constantly thinking about these like little pockets of transitions in life, you know, like then you see it in the real world, you see it in the instinctual world, the animal world, and like we just kind of like we're just operating so far away from that right now, and like the pandemic has just checked our ass so hard, and like some people can accept that and some people can't, and the people that can't accept that, they're kind of being left behind because like people really want to move forward. Like everyone's tired of this shit. It doesn't make sense. We need to stop acting like we know what we know when all we know is what we know. You know what I mean? Like we don't know. We only know things we can prove, but like there's so much more to be known, and we don't even have the capacity to think that large yet. So that's where I'm at, you know, healing to be open as a channel, as a vessel to like be open to new information. And we seem to like build information as opposed to just like really realize that it's on us and in us and through us.
Daisy
Yeah, God, just wow, so much to absorb here. And I was thinking about to piggyback on that, our relationship to the unknown, and how a pandemic can really check us and show us that there's so little that we know. And when we become dogmatic and certain about things, that turns really fucking evil really fast, you know, turns real bad real fast. And since I am, you know, then coming from this tradition then of like mystics, white mystics in this this very Catholic tradition, you know, and thinking about their relationship to the unknown and why is this relevant today. And you know, I think Hildi was she was very humble about what was coming through her, and she knew that it could be interpreted in a lot of different ways. And thinking about also Gregory of Nyssa, who is another mystic, somewhat in her tradition, and he talked about meeting God in this cloud of unknowing. So like literally you can't see anything, you're inside of this cloud. It's like it's blinding white or blinding gray, whatever it is. And if there is to be change and positive change from this time, I think it will be through and hopefully it is, and I see it in many artists, like through this very humble relationship with the unknown and willing to transform oneself through that, willing to let go of many certainties and to do that in a space of love, which I think is what a lot of the mystics said anyway. So thank you all so much for like how fantastic this convo is. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish people could be like that, could have such a capacious relationship to the unknown, because I don't know. I don't think anything has changed. It's like this past few months, it's like people start performing again and everybody goes back to their old habits and just crunch things out, put people in the seats or put people online, produce. I don't know. It's like, why did you not learn any lessons? But I mean, I've been in psychoanalysis these days, so like 4 times a week in therapy, and it's very clear it's a traumatic.
Yeah, we just lost you. In case you can hear us, can you guys hear her?
No.
No.
Wait, hold on.
I'm coming back.
Yes.
My bad. But yes, I was talking through traumatic repetition. So I'm actually more interested in how we don't change than being obsessed with changing, because I don't think change happens that often.
Well, change really requires everyday action, like literally from the moment you rise out of your slumber to like even in your like daily, you know, and it's like crazy to like really witness how humans really identify change as something else when in fact it like really just sits in your own space, you know, like you have to move forward, you have to like make a choice to do something different for someone else. And like it's just crazy that that concept is glorified and also just like, you know, put in a box with a ribbon on it. It's so many things wrong with that. But like, you know, once again, this is why I think it's so important that people know movement, not movement as dance and performance, but movement as like survival to like get you to the next day. You did not cross the street when you were 2 years old without looking both ways, and people don't know how to do that right now as grown adults. You know what I mean? So just like facilitating change actually requires more than the idea of action, but the actual idea of doing, like physically moving your organs to do the thing that you said you were going to do and keep your word in saying that. Like that's it, you know?
Yeah, I want to add. Oh no, go, Malcolm, go. No, Malcolm, go.
Malcolm, yes.
I guess like yeah, a lot of things are like resonating with me because it's like yeah, I guess I've been in this for like questions since the pandemic of I guess just like I guess how is the institution showing up for me? And I guess like it really like the pandemic like really proves who like all these institutions was pulling like the labor from. And like even yeah, even in these spaces that like, you know, say we're prone to yeah, I mean, we can't take it to like a virtual space, but it's like, oh, the places that was like when it was like actually running, the people that was on the front lines was like, you know, Black and POC that was like most vulnerable to like COVID-19. But yeah, I guess I'm just thinking of like even after the like pandemic of like people just like losing their I don't want to say like shows, but like losing their crafts and the institutions like not showing up and offering like any compensation or like any relief. And luckily like it has been like quote unquote some relief, but it's like, oh, why do I have to go to an application process to apply for like, you know, something I need? But yeah, I've been I guess I was answering Frank's question about change or but yeah, everything was like resonating. I don't want to be like here blabbing and blabbing, but
No, what you're saying is dope. I mean, what I was gonna say is so over the pandemic too, and through my process of like, I guess healing through what I did throughout the pandemic and this relationship and things like that. I started reading Sadia Hartman's beautiful Wayward Lives, Beautiful Experiments. And it just was one of the most resonating things here because I was based in Philly and am based in Philly essentially everywhere. New York, Connecticut is where I'm from, Maine. So I can be based out there if I wanted to. So it's hard because a lot of my work sort of lives in the ether of this sexual migration, and so much of Wayward Lives was about, I guess, how did Black people actually regain intimacy after slavery? Like, what did it look like to be touched, to behold, you know, when your body was literally like not a body? It wasn't, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't even understand organs. Like, you don't have doctors, you know, and it also traced the lineage of rape of women and how, you know, a woman could be raped 12 times in a day, you know what I mean? Like in those times. So it was like really it was really brutal and beautiful because to be wayward is to be, you know, is to be vigilantly, you know, constantly sort of pruning, you know, your body, you know, like your body is not even an actual organ like vessel. It's like it's like we've sort of just now got to understanding what maybe being a vessel for something could be like, because all of that shit was a simulation for like what we're like, compacting ourselves into right now. And so that's why for me, like when I look at my body, I'm always trying to think about how liberation is like constantly like happening. Like in order for me to be liberated, I have to resist ever being loved or ever being, sort of like fantasized by society, because, to be liberated is to sort of always be constantly breaking the chain. It's to constantly be like moving yourself away from the gaze, you know what I mean? And like that is like, that was, that's just really interesting to me. While being here and being alive, is that like I understand death, and that I, just from being a young person, I understood that I had to die, and that is a real reality. And so because of intergenerational legacies, and I make a lot of art with people who are in their 60s or in their 70s, I just look at it very differently too, as well, and just think about that relationship of cultural competency, connectivity, but also from a sexual lens, which, yeah, that's just my frame.
David.
I don't know how much I have to add. I mean, I think what I've been inspired by has been the efforts and ongoing efforts to organize and to share, and the ways in which, well, I'll give you an example. As Frank, she had him on Segal Talks, Chris Myers and a group of the actor based in New York, and a group of other comrades have formed a ongoing working group called Anti-Capitalism for Artists. And I think that's just incredible that people are not, siloing race, gender, sexuality, class, but the level of critique and analysis and organizing around shared structures that are slowly killing people has been just night and day in a lot of ways, at least in a certain kind of public sphere. So that's been really inspiring. But man, it's hard for me not to also see, as everyone else already mentioned, like the really devastating continuities. And I think what's really hard, I mean, Malcolm, you talked about like applying for relief, right? What's really hard is like, it's really easy. Okay, so I'm on the other side now, the nonprofit industrial complex, because I run this small theater in Maine that, I'm trying to keep working. And on the one hand, it's like, yeah, it's good that we offer relief, but the condition of possibility for that is that it makes you an individual, right? The institution individuates people when otherwise this wealth should be shared, and not, oh, well, are you good enough to get this? Do you know what I mean? And it's the same thing for, it also applies to the same thing about the police, right? The police are here to separate us from our social wealth. The condition of possibility for carceralism is the individuation of what otherwise should be an ongoing shared social life. Okay, so why am I saying all this? Because, defund the police, absolutely. Cops off campus, absolutely, as someone who's taught in a university. But the majority of policing that happens on a college campus happens in the classroom by faculty. And the same thing is true of the nonprofit theater. The majority of the policing that happens in the nonprofit theater happens by administrators, especially including me. And that's the thing that like I have to be vigilant about, speaking for myself. And I think that's so hard for the institution to change, because the structures in which these things have got up, from which capital is hoarded and extracted, and which people see things. I mean, it's really difficult to change. I don't want to complain here about, oh, it's really hard for people who are nonprofit administrators. It's not. The hard thing, as Arian said, is wanting your parents to die with dignity. That's fucking hard, right? How to fundraise from the Ford Foundation is nothing compared to that challenge. But, at the same time, as part of my job, I'm just figuring out how to like triangulate those two things. How to whatever levers I got to pull, how can I get a little bit closer to that, so the people around me that I share space with, that create for me and show up, that their parents and their family can stop dying a little bit less. So that was a rant, but that's,
Just a question to all of it. What would really help, or what are examples? What could make a difference, or what do you guys need, or what does our society need, or our city of New York, where people go back to performance? What do we need?
Meaning what you fucking say. Following up with what you. It's just like all you have to do is follow through to care about someone else, and then do it. That's it. like no facades, no portfolios, no applications. If you really say you care about this thing, then care about it. It's just that different. I mean, just that simple. Like whatever insecurities you have about you cannot project that into a situation when it's about others. That's it. Fix your shit. It's your responsibility. And you can't hide behind money. You can't hide behind clothes. You can't hide behind art. You can't hide behind. Just deal with it in the space. And then when somebody's in the space who knows how to deal with it, don't treat them like they're fucking crazy. Because like you watch all these people on the street. My grandfather was homeless here in New York City, and he knew 5 languages, and he used to be rich, but he was generous and he gave so much until he was empty, and he literally died empty. And like, just mean what you say. If everyone was doing the same thing, it would be a chain reaction. And I still haven't seen any perfect example of that yet. And everything I've ever known in my existence and my life as being an American citizen has all been lies. Everything has been a lie. So I'm just waiting for some truth. And if I'm sitting here trying to figure out truth, I demand truth. And that's it. I'm not gonna sit here and be gaslit anymore.
Yeah, people are not great at telling the truth. Like it's not actually a skill that's taught, and it's not actually something that goes over so well in the company of others in any way. Like telling the truth is kind of dangerous business. And I was just thinking about this business model of like under promise and over deliver, which is like kind of a nice way to go about in your life. And I was thinking also about what An said about seeing a lot of art institutions, establishments, clubs, places like going back up now, kind of like the way it was before, and seeing that on social media and being. I question myself. I'm like, is it just because I'm shy, or I'm like jealous of it, or is it FOMO, or being a little bit disturbed by that? Being like, I can't just go and start back up in full swing. I'm not there. I'm not there with it. So yeah, the truth. And I think what we're supposed to be doing with art is telling the truth in some way, and that can look like so many different things. And to quote what's been said in here too, this idea of like just moving is a way of telling the truth. Actually, it's not talking, it's not thinking, it's not promising, it's just moving. And for me, I'm getting goosebumps saying this, for me that's like, just open your mouth and fucking sing. Bring somebody else into it. It's just singing. If I sing, Thank you. I mean, if I sing, I'm going to change the energy of my physical body and myself around me, right? Same thing. So it's just, we have to do the thing. Just do the thing. Do the thing, do the thing, do the thing. That is telling the truth, right? In some way. We have to check that too, always. But it's just moving.
Sorry, I really loved that. Thank you.
I was piggybacking off of you, so thank you.
Bless.
Malcolm, do you what do you feel? What is needed?
I guess like I feel that there's no one answer to that question, obviously, but I think like institutions can like start things like reparation funds, and just like even like say, yeah, the artists that they do support have access to a reparations fund. Because I'm thinking of how like well, me specifically, like being like this downtown experimental dancer or whatever, like how a lot of these like places were built off for like slave labor and like, you know, these like churches having like slave galleries and being like a part of these spaces. And like, I guess like knowing that and being aware and being conscious of, if I enter this space, it can conjure up anything inside of me and my body. I think Damani was also resonating with me because I'm also from New York, and it's like, yeah, just being in New York and always being in a space of I have to produce something, I have to be doing, I have to be this machine. But the radical act being like, oh, giving myself permission to rest, or even thinking of like, yeah, I don't have this like access to capital that I can possibly be homeless like any given moment and like, you know, die with nothing to my name. So yeah, I'm thinking of all these things, but I feel like there's no one answer, but I feel like, yeah, if you are in a space to give resources of considering like, you know, what does a reparation fund look like, especially for Black artists? And if it's like, you know, if you produce a show and, you know, yeah, I don't know. It's not tricky, but I guess like one step forward is in a better direction than, this constant cycle of like white supremacy and patriarchy just like killing us.
Yeah, I'm like, and thinking about reparation, I'm like, I've been thinking a lot about how really amazed that this one word that we grew up in Vietnam, and not just the word, like the spirit of sacrifice. Like that's how we won the war, you know, like we sacrifice. Whereas here, people give out like philanthropic generosity. That's their relationship to the other. Like, here's something, take it. Like, there's no sense of cultural sacrifice. And not just the US, I really think the West with this individuation. And it's just so brutal. And I wish my work could somehow access these rich people and like give them a sacrificial ritual and like make them give up something. But I don't know how to do that. Otherwise, these people are just gonna hoard. Just hoard, and they give when they want, and they give out a fraction of what they have.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel like what we need is access, resources, sustainability, foundation, access, the ability to have shelter, transportation, food, water, sleep, toilet paper, you know, resources. All the rich white people that you know that fund the JFK Center and Asalakalika and all of the things that they be funding all around the world. Resources, you know what I mean? You know, sustainability, the ability to let my parents die with dignity and that my aunties and my uncles and the grandchildren and the nieces and nephews after me can have a life better than me. Sustainability. Foundation, the ability to build, but not just to build institutionally, but financially, spiritually, leisurely, to have rest as a root of foundation, to have love as a root of foundation, you know. But we'll see. That's like, you know, and then and then as an artist, you know, we'll just take it, you know, we'll just take it to the next level. You know what I mean? I think as artists, we just are meant to take shit to the direct source of the human that needs to feel it. You know, it's like, oh, you don't really understand this really brutalized, you know, idea. Like, you don't understand the poetics of health. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, I gotta bring you directly to it, you know? That's the beauty, I guess, of that. And I just also want to say thank y'all too, because this this festival has, you know, its little history. I know Marina has also been a part of this festival.
Abramovich, yeah.
Yeah, you know, so it's like, it's interesting that we are like connected in this now lineage of people like Marina, you know what I mean? And now we're here, you know, doing something that isn't about going beyond it. It's just about the trend. It's about the how it transcended, you know what I mean, itself to, you know, to where it is, to me personally. Yeah.
Malcolm, I think you had your hand up, if I saw that right.
I was scratching the back of my neck with
No.
needle and thread. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So then
I'll say something.
Go say.
Go.
No, Malcolm, come on. It's your turn.
Go, Malcolm. Go.
No, I'll come back around. Go.
No. No. So then I guess I have a question for you, Martin. Like, how do you want to see the world change drastically, but also someone like, I guess I'm speaking from an intergenerational standpoint, like how do you feel about witnessing a lot of the world change time and time again, and the brutalisticness of it, but also like, did you even really see it? When did you see it? When did you decide to see it, if you saw it? You know what I mean?
Wait, who is that question for? Sorry.
It was for Frank. Oh, sorry, Frank.
Yeah, you said Martin.
Martin. Sorry, I said Martin. I'm sorry. I was thinking about Martin Segal.
I figured, but like.
Thank you, Damani.
The spirit is here.
I was like, Martin. His name is Martin. To me,
it's a good question. I mean, I was in Berlin when the wall came down that day when it happened.
Okay. When
it was announced, I saw that. I was here when the Twin Towers, when they fell down. I saw that, and I think also Prelude, Corona. Is something which is a fundamental change that has happened. It has already happened. I think we might not be aware of it, and we are worried. Feel like the bigs might get bigger and the smaller places get smaller at the moment. That what that change should bring, as David pointed out, Anne and Daisy, that it should actually be a time to learn something. What have all these people died for? If not to learn from it, what life is about. And so I do think that something fundamental at the moment is happening. I think you guys, our artists, are anticipating the future. You put your finger on something. We barely live in the present as normal people, but artists often anticipate what is coming, and it's a bit gruesome. A lot what we see, what we hear, what we feel, and I think the ideas of movement through body and of healing, of Daisy, of people singing songs, moving to music, I think to bring people together in circles, but not as feeding the machine. I think you all talked about that, that there's a big machine and the machine is hungry, but you're part of it and you also work for it. But to say, no, we should not feed the machine. We should actually sabotage it. Sabot was the idea for like wooden shoes. I think that's the name. People threw it, French workers, in the machines, and they stopped. And I think we have to understand that perhaps theater is, fighting against the idea of what a commercial theater really is, and not try to get into it. And I do hope that there will be something, that there is something at the moment that is changing. We closed basically our center. I really don't know what we're going to do in the upcoming year. I feel we maybe have to reach out and to work in the parks or create a city-wide festival. We're going to talk about it. But I feel strongly, and we all feel strongly, something visible have to change. If we don't change, who else will? If artists are not part of it, who else will? It can't be that the Michael Jackson musical coming back up again is a sign that all is good. So so I don't know. I wish I had good answer, but I feel we are in a moment of profound change, and that's why I think the idea of the 12 curators or 13, inviting all these others, that perhaps we can give some answers. We might not be able to detect it right away, but you guys, and to listen to you and to really being open and listening to what you say. I think this is important, and it's a first step. It's a small step. We are tiny, also in the like a homeopathic pill in the big body of American theater or America in itself. But I feel we do something here that is different. We changed it through our structure, and it's a little sign for it. Is it good enough? I do not know, but for me, part of change is to really listen to what you all say.
We need some money. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. We got paid.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we are a very small organization that's barely surviving, but we pay, I think a relatively good amount. And we also, with the award we're going to give out to Sade from the National Black Theater, we give a real support. So we really are trying. It's a very, very large amount. And we don't even have a theater of our own, but we are the university, so it's easier. But the public universities are terribly underfunded. David will know if you go to, I think Harvard University has $56 billion in endowment. I don't know if CUNY has 10 million. That must be a lot, of 20 for 20 colleges. And there is a real imbalance here. And they still asked for a long time full tuition for people to study acting, to create art. It's shocking. And I think universities also have to change, as David did say. But I would like to know, what inspired you in the time now of the corona? What got you through that, or what made you change your thinking? Did anything change? Did it confirm, or was there something what you saw, what you did, what you read, what you listened to, what you moved to, or what you created that was meaningful?
So the world stopped, and the uncertainty first, but then still, like, waking up that day to those videos of, George Floyd and that Central Park woman, and like just being like, just can't get a break. Like really just like, because before you would say these stories and they're just like kind of flushed out all the time and no one listens to you. Like you experience these things with people I'm actually experiencing something right now with people who like don't really realize they're inherently racist, and that saying that you're a Black-owned restaurant with no Black people working there, and then there's only to be one is problematic. Just like things like that, small pocket of spaces. Anyway, waking up that day and just like being truly disrespected, just like feeling that everything I fought for means nothing, as it doesn't mean anything. Like we own nothing. We only own the time that we are gifted being here. We have no understanding of our consciousness and what that means, and we don't even know how to relate to each other. So that really is what pushed me to do what I've been doing. And like this project came right before the pandemic, and I was like, how fitting was this when I was like questioning, who are you really when shit hits the fan? I don't want to know who you are when you want to grab drinks or grab dinner. We want to hee ha ha all the time, kiki. Like, who are you really? Like, if the world was sinking into a hole and there was a fence, are you gonna help me over the fence? Are you gonna teach me how to climb the fence? Like let me know who you really are when it's a moment of life or death. Because, we have all this time to think about it in this like safe space of America where we are on top of the world, all that shit. But I'm like, I can't think about the amount of people that haven't had time to save their own selves from someone else's shit. Like bombs are being dropped on their head, like kids are fucking like literally bone thin. I like watched a video of like a kid that was so hungry that they were eating their own nails. And then we have all this food here. I mean, it's just too much. That's what woke me up that day. And I was like, this is something I already knew, but like, just wow, how disrespectful for it to still be a thing. And like, I have to sit here and watch that for 10 minutes. And that could have been me. And as someone that grew up in a police system, like, I was a 71st Precinct Explorer, which meant like I was basically training to become a cop at a certain point, but I did all the drills and the camping and all of that stuff. And those cops were lovely. To have that mindset, to then go, oh, I'm college and I'm polished, to then go, me being beat down by 5'6" men, white men, and then being made fun of, like as I'm bleeding, and they're literally making fun of me. And the one black person in the precinct was a black woman, and she couldn't even look me in my face. And I was like, oh, this is what justice is. I'm literally limping because my IT band is shot because that punched me so hard. And when they're like, why are you limping? My IT band is shot. What's an IT band? I'm like, oh, so you touching bodies out here? You don't even know anatomy. And I had to fucking, you know what I mean? This is what got me up. And it's going to keep me up because I have zero tolerance. It's irresponsible. I don't care what you look like or who you are, you know, like there is motion for humanity to do better. Just do better. Just be better. Just be more curious. Seek more inquisition. Like have more conversations. You know, like if you're scared of it, admit that you're scared of it. Like, I don't know what's so hard about that. And if it's the emotion and the sensation, then you need to move your body. You need to sing a song. You need to write something down. I don't know what to tell you. You know?
Yeah.
And also when you see Second Skin Imposter, you're gonna feel that shift because it's beautiful. And not just that, it's beautiful. It's like, it's weird when you have an artist who feels so interconnected to very radicalistic shit, but then can transform it into a wave that's like completely refined and distilled and direct, and just the modalities within the movement and the ways in which the dancers are like in the frame and the ways in which they shape the frame and the body and the way that Damani literally choreographs these fucking human beings that are just like elegant, you know, strings of time into these very like neutralistic toned like weird shape people, you know, like to avoid you attaching any other personality besides the personality or the mentality that Damani wants you to be within, you know. That's just hard and that's just beautiful. And that's why I'm like, when you watch it, Second Skin Imposter, at the Prelude NYC, you're gonna see that shit is dope. Like, it's incredible, and the angles and the camera, it's rich as fuck, it's cinematic as fuck, it's luxurious, it's sun, you know what I mean?
And I have to just imply, like, it looks that way, but I'm really good at making something from nothing. That's all I'll say.
So yeah, I mean, I very
Malcolm, Malcolm, what were you saying? Something.
Hey, you keep on.
I thought so.
Malcolm, what did you say?
Or Daisy? Yeah.
I can say something. Yeah, I guess while Arian and Damani was talking, I kept on having flashbacks of like Emia, but in a good way. Of just being like, I guess I was of that coming of age of like, I kind of don't remember anything, or like, but I remember like these two individuals as like, I guess for these like experiences in the camp that like shifted me. Like, I feel like I wouldn't remember like a lot of any of the other people, but I guess it was in conversation into, I guess just their ability to be present. But also, I guess, like, within, like, this, not camp, but within, like, these, like, set of movements of, like, how they kind of, like, surpass that, or, like, yeah, just, like, the shapes was just, like, very, like, particular and, like, different that, like, stood out. I hope I'm making sense, but
yeah, but it's complex as many say. But what do you are created pieces?
I guess just to see it develop into like what it is now. Again, it just has this like, this futuristic, like, not in this normal sphere, but I love you both.
I mean, we are a little bit closer to the end of the second session, but my question is, you all created work, actually, and people put you out. Curators said what these artists have to say is meaningful. With what you created now, what we see in excerpt, it's a work in progress. Of course, the real piece will come later. But what is your hope? What do you feel? What contribution can or should it make?
I don't think there's an answer to that. I think we all make art for different reasons. I think the overall umbrella concept of art making and art providing is to affect. Now, we don't have any control of like how it's going to affect, because people will receive it as they receive it. But you know, there's something about like, there's a reason why artists are poor. It's like, you know, we see life in the way that like we think about possibility, and you know, hoping that, you know, we change someone else's lives to get out this mundane thing that you think you have to do for the sake of capitalism. And capitalism isn't survival, you know, like we don't need it, but like here we are participating in it. And just to be free from that, to imagine worlds, to broaden the sense of imagination for the greater humanity, like on the back end, where it's like this sort of energetic thing and this kind of hopeful thing. I don't think there's an answer to that. Like, you know, like it's just like the hope that it will make sense, and that like culture, if it is perceived as culture, that it will be respected and cared for, soaked in, and shared, and then also self-experience. Like I want you to go do something too, you know, like it's not about me telling you how I'm seeing the world. It's like, no, this is how I see the world through all of our eyes, you know? So.
On, you want to say something?
I mean, I don't know. I just want to bring back some sense of religion, not even like spiritual movements, devotion, which is hard through video. So, but I think the theater is a little more conducive to that, to be honest, surprisingly. Yeah, as I said, I would love to facilitate a sacrificial ritual. So if you know anybody who's a good fit, let me know. I think that's
I also wanted to, I didn't want to get too heavy into that conversation, but you know, I have a specific relationship with Asian culture that I'm so disconnected from, but so connected to, because my grandfather was from Macau. And you know, he died before I could ever even learn about that past. And when I lived in Shanghai for a month and a half, I felt more at home there than I did here in America. And when I came back to America, I was kind of like, wow, that's so crazy that I was conditioned to think that China was dirty. China, just like all these things. And communism and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I stayed in this whole ass, very, very humble motel. And it was literally next to a slum. And those people walked out with dignity and clarity, like looking better than me in suits, even though it was a slum right there. You know what I mean? And I was just like, oh, like we are about the thing that Daisy said. I forgot, like overproducing, under all of that. And I was like, and like, you know, but I'm like, but I felt so at home there. And like the racism that I don't even know if I could call it racism, because like the racism there is definitely nothing compared to anything I've experienced here. You know what I mean? Like it's Inquisition. They're like, they don't have many Black people. They have questions. They don't know how to ask the questions because, you know, imperialism, communism, blah, 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 stay in your lane, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. It just makes sense. Whereas here, it's like, it's actually hate, you know? Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because it's like something like that's going to be a life journey for me.
Maybe Daisy, we're going to hear you tonight, right? At 7:00. You will be one of the performances. Yeah, each day at 7:00, we have one live element. It's online, but it's live. You can actually see, I think, all 13, 14 presentations right away on the web. You can look at it. But Daisy, what's your hope when we click on tonight and we listen to you? What do you imagine for your audience?
Well, I'm just really into ecstatic states, and I want to take you with me. I just want you to come. I don't know if you will or not. I don't know. I don't know what will happen, but I mean, I think, ritual, the word ritual has been mentioned, but I think sacred music is really important, not just as somebody who, it's important for sacred music to feel like it belongs to a lot of people, like, or everybody. It's not just like this performative thing. And I feel like, what I do with Hildegard sort of has two prongs. I do perform it, but I also do bring people into it all the time. I want people to sing with me. It's not complete for me unless other consciousnesses, other people are brought into it. Maybe Hildi will show up. I don't know. Sometimes she does. Sometimes she's like, hey, what's up? I'm here. And so yeah, ecstatic states. And it was funny. I was thinking about this answer, and then I was like, God, is that frivolous? Is that a frivolous answer? And I was like, no, it's not. There's pleasure in that. There's an element of the unknown in that. There can be hopefully humility in that. There are questions about it. There's a transformation or possibly a transformative experience. And that's really, oh my God, that's really saying a lot about tonight. I just want to have a really great conversation with David tonight and sing a little bit. Those are the things that I would like to happen. But overall, that's kind of what this project is about for me. Yeah, and I love how it became like over generate. It's under promise and over deliver.
Yeah,
it's in a corporate speak, but yeah, it's like so. It's so deep. I think about it all the time.
And Damani said, what's really happening? People, under promise, over promise and under deliver, right?
Exactly.
He said exactly the opposite. That's what's happening. We have about 5 more minutes, Malcolm and David, or Arian. Something you still. I mean, you create work. That's why we feel Prelude is a celebration of the art. It's so hard to make art anywhere in the world, but in New York, it is especially, and for you guys especially, with everything what we heard about. So what do you hope?
I mean, for me, I know this. I have a live show. I'm about to do plugs because it's like 1:22. So I'm plugging. I just want to say shout out Domson from Mars. Shout out Hilton Palmer. Shout out Kevin Hernandez Rosa. Shout out Nicholas Sarambana. Shout out Marisa Williamson. Shout out Noah Michael Smith. Shout out Huno, who did some music out of Mexico. Shout out Klein, who's this really dope sound artist in London. Shout out Damani. Shout out Malcolm. Come see me perform in Philly in December 17th, 18th, and 19th. The show is called Equators. It'll be at Icebox Project Space. It's about Blackness and climate change and natural disasters. It's been a project that I've been doing since 2018. So yeah, like that's my whole thing. Like I'm like just like come through and just try to see as much radical shit that you can fucking see. And and like I want to come out and see everyone's shit as much as I possibly can. But that's just what I needed to say last minute and just to plug it. And everyone shout out, Prelude Festival and watch Quinquennial because it's dope. It's fucking weird as fuck. You know what I mean? Quinquennial's that shit. So yeah, cool.
I'll just say, as a Prelude alum, I'm really excited by this chain curating experiment. I think there's no other possibility in which this ecstatic, pissed off, fabulous configuration of artists would have come together. So that's really great. I've never been to Philly, so December sounds like a great time to go there. And I'll just say really briefly, the two things I'm really working on, or that I'm trying to move through and with, are in my own, the theater that I'm responsible for, fair labor conditions. That's my main priority for the next 12 months. I just started the job a couple weeks ago. So finding every lever I can pull to get more money into the hands of artists, and to have those artists bring their work and share their work with people who want to show up for each other the most. That's the most urgent thing in the Register of Reform that I'm working on. And then the larger, long-term, ongoing, always project is to how to defend the chorus that Saidiya Hartman talks about in Wayward Lives, Beautiful Experiments. And, you know, it might be because you know, I've been thrown into the historical social position of whiteness that I can't be a part of it, but I can help defend, and I can show up, even though again, I may not be able to be included at this historical juncture. But that book, you know, I just had to say it really inspired me. And if anybody hasn't checked it out, it's called Wayward Lives, Beautiful Experiments by Saidiya Hartman. Probably one of the most important thinkers, just thinking now, forever. I don't know, you know, but it's a really extraordinary book about Black women in New York and Philadelphia during the turn of the 20th century, and how they survived these really brutal conditions, and how they found intimacy and love and expression, all these things that Arian was talking about earlier. So it's really great.
It's like the book that I use when I've sort of been making my latest work. And when you come to Philly in December, I can bring you to where she was talking about, 700 Lombard Street.
Oh, yes.
Where W.E.B. Du Bois lives. They have his little thing where he lived, you know, and where he wrote the Philadelphia New Negro, which is a part of, you know, Saidiya Hartman's finding, you know, within that whole thing.
Yeah. Du Bois is a really interesting character in that whole saga.
Very funny, yes.
And now again, since we are so close to Malcolm, you didn't scratch your back this time, but say something. And we're getting close to it, you know. And you did both, you know. You're participating in Curate. So tell us, what's your, if there is something hopeful or something where you say this is why you do this.
Yeah. I normally make my own work. I was like picked by Nile Harris, and like we've been working like closely together. And he curated on yeah, I guess this curation seems like, I guess, like a giving back or like an offering to, like, you know, my community. And I feel like, I guess that's what the chain curation like has created. And I think David said it, I guess this, we wouldn't be in the same room if it wasn't having like these like, I guess like meaningful dialogue, between like the works and the conversations. I feel like there's obviously a shift that happens since the pandemic, but I feel like with these, it gives us a space of possibility to show up where we are, as opposed to like having to show up to the institution that I can be in my home. I guess I'm hopeful about that, or interested to see how like Prelude like continues that.
And I think that's a great thing to say. What we are doing, you know, what it is, a meaningful dialogue, hopefully, and a meaningful conversation. That's a big thing, and that's important. And meaningful listening, I think I would add. So really, thank you all. And we could go on much more. Each one of you could have been, I think, you know, a full session and to go deeper. But we will go on, and this is just an idea and to inspire. We will have the 12 noon panels going on through the week. Tonight at 4:30, Helen Shaw, the great Helen Shaw, also was a theater critic who was a brilliant curator once. She put together a panel with young critics, a new collective that's come together that also say we have to look differently and we have to write differently about theater. So it will be interesting. They just formed what they say and what change might mean to them. And then, of course, tonight at 7, Daisy. So we all can't wait, and it would be great if Hildegard shows up, and she is there and she is with you, and she's a quite a mystique and quite an important thinker. And as everybody pointed out, there were moments in time, turn of the century or others. You know, now is such a time of movement and change. We have to be in it, and we also have to be the change we want to see. So, and I hope that. And you also feel a bit inspired, you know, and through our Prelude Festival, it really is a celebration of the work, and to say this is what you guys do is important. This is a meaningful and significant contribution to the life of the city. And it's not commercial, and it's not out there to advance a career. What you do is real. It's significant what as artists struggling and sharing their experiences. So thank you all. Thanks again for the Segal team. And I will see you, hopefully, some of you tomorrow. But please all check that Prelude Festival. So much work went into it from all the curators. So I hope there's something that is meaningful to all of you. Thank you all, and thank you to our listeners. I know how much is out there at the moment. When we started our Segal Talks last March, there are very few conversations. Most people should repeat. Now there are so many conversations online, and now we feel we have to show work again. So it's a great privilege for us to host this. Really, thank you all. I'm very thankful. And onwards. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thanks for you guys to take time.